Just 3 weeks ago, the National Restaurant Association released a rosy picture of the dining industry. Sales were projected to rise 4% this year to a record of nearly $900 billion. But the coronavirus outbreak has upended that. Widespread restaurant closures and massive layoffs have shocked the industry. Here to discuss the impact this is going to have on your neighborhood eatery and the broader economy, we are joined by Derek Thompson, CBS News contributor and staff writer at The Atlantic. Derek, you had a great piece out there and so many quotable things in it, including saying that restaurants are the new factories. Over 15 million people are employed by the restaurant industry. So in general for the economy, what does this mean right now?
What it means essentially is that this pandemic has slammed into the U.S. economy at a time when restaurants have never been more important, not only to our economy, but also to our culture. So 2 quick statistics. The first statistic is that 30 years ago, in 1990, manufacturing had 3 times the employment of restaurants. Now they're tied. Restaurants are indeed, no hyperbole, the new factories. The second really important thing is that if you look at Manhattan, for example, where you are, in the last year, restaurants accounted for almost half of all new ground floor retail leases. That means that without the restaurant industry, the ground floor retail, the face of New York, when you're walking around those streets, is decimated by half. So restaurants, both as a matter of culture and a matter of economics, have never been more important to us, which is why I think it's so important at this early point in the pandemic that we look this problem squarely in the face and solve it, because restaurants are sort of they're the early challenge that we're going to face before this crisis sort of winds its way through the entire economy.
Yeah, so Derek, the question is what you do about it. We just saw that number, 15.6 million people employed by the restaurant industry. I think the latest numbers from Open Table show that cancellations are between 90, I think it's closer now to 100%. What
it's 100. It's gone. It's gone. So this is a huge, big question. I spoke to a Danish economist last night about what Denmark is doing. And Denmark, in many ways, is at the bleeding edge of government responses to what could truly be the beginning of a Great Depression in the West. And what they're doing is this. I have the notes down right here. They've agreed to cover the cost of employees' salaries at private companies that are threatening to fire people as long as they don't fire those people. In short, that means the government is essentially going to pay people to do nothing. Now, over the scope of American history, that might sound ludicrous and absurd. But think about what the U.S. is essentially asking of these companies and asking of us citizens. It's asking us to stay put. It's telling us not to go to restaurants. It is essentially blowing the whistle, calling the restaurants off the field, enforcing a period of hibernation on America's face-to-face services sector. And as long as the government is going to essentially outlaw face-to-face services, they have to compensate the employees who are affected by that outlaw. So what I think the government should do essentially is to offer restaurants a bargain. They should say on the one hand that they're going to beef up unemployment insurance and pay these workers a living wage, whether they are in the restaurant or outside of the restaurant, whether they're working delivery or not. And also, I think we need to find ways of extending liquidity to small and medium-sized businesses. Give them zero-interest loans right now so that they can withstand this crisis and come out on the other side as the same restaurant rather than close down and change the nature of America's streets.
Derek, real quickly before we let you go here, we've seen there's takeout and delivery for some. You mentioned, obviously, the federal government needing to get involved. But is this the end of the restaurant business as we know it?
I certainly hope not. I certainly hope that restaurants, that all the restaurants that currently exist can come back, because God knows I adore restaurants. I love restaurants, and I know that you guys do too. I think that you might see some innovation, restaurants turning from dine-in to drive-through and turning into delivery services. That might bring forward the future a little bit, because in many ways delivery is the future of dining out. But I hope at the moment that the American government essentially says, we've frozen the economy. We've chosen to freeze it for public health reasons. We also have to freeze living wages for people that work at restaurants, pay them to do nothing, help them put food on the table, and let's revisit the restaurant business in 3 to 4 months when this crisis is washed through us.
Very tough time, but a great article as usual, Derek. Derek Thompson, thank you very much.